Believe it or not, it was a very tough year for some of the biggest streaming services. You probably already know that. They suffered some very, very expensive lessons. The question is, did they learn from any of those lessons? I doubt it. You probably doubt it too. But let's dive into the colossal waste of money that was spent this year. Here we go. Now, today we have a battery of related articles that I'm going to pull from. Each of them are giving part of a glossy top coat, bologna sausage, Hollywood industry trade take that they can apply to just about anything. First, let's start with a reality check. The streaming boom is long gone. It ended over a year ago, probably closer to 2 years ago. And all of the articles on this reality are still showing a softball approach at what it actually is instead of the brutal honesty that the market has not only reached maturity, but in fact, it's dangerously overhyped. I think the reality is settling in with a lot of these studios. And many of us were calling this out long before the Wall Street analysts caught on, but there was still some money to be made on the false premise that growth would continue well into the future. Well, that never happens. The correct approach was a measured one that focused on ARPU, which everybody got to a long, long time ago. But between myself, Valiant Renegade, Midnight's Edge, and a few others, that's the term that we've been focused on since, well, I don't know, probably the beginning of the streaming wars. And there's a reason for that. It's a measure that when combined with a couple of other things, it gives you some insight on whether something is or could be profitable, which is what these services desperately need to be now. The trades, for example, like The Wrap, one of the articles we're drawing from today, are just now starting to show how important this particular metric is. In this most recent article that we're going to show here, they identified something that shocked everyone wide awake over on Wall Street. Netflix lost subscribers for the first time in over a decade. And let me tell you, that quarter was quite surprising. And of course, this created the newfound interest in the profitability margins, or numbers, I should say, and the ARPU. Of course, Netflix is, as of now, the only profitable service that exists for streaming. And they also lead the pack in ARPU at $16.37. That's a pretty decent chunk of change. Disney pulls up the rear when you look at these top four streamers at $6.10. That leaves a $10 gap between Netflix and Disney Plus. So focusing on subscriber numbers was a very easy sell metric for most of these streaming services. It gave the impression of huge growth, and huge growth always comes with huge profits, right? Wrong. Those subscribers want to watch stuff. They want stuff that's good, and you need good stuff to keep those subscribers. So you have to make more stuff in order to keep the subscribers around, and that costs a lot more money. You're constantly making good things. It's going to cost even more money, and making each of those subscribers that you have more expensive to get and to keep. We've talked about that before. In fact, in a previous video, and I'll link it in this one down below, we discuss how much it costs to actually get a subscriber and how long it takes to break even on that one subscriber. And it's a while. We also talked a fair bit about churn, and that's also in that video, and it's one of the reasons why it's worth a review if you haven't seen it yet, or if you have, just to get those key points, because they're very, very important, including in this story itself. Consumer value threshold is changing right now across the board. As each streaming service has struggled with revenue, they have turned to price increases, right? You've seen that happening with Netflix and Disney and all these others raising their prices the last couple of years because they need to. And that in turn has actually caused customers to reevaluate or evaluate the services that they will subscribe to or whether they'll remain subscribed to. After all, very few people have limitless funds for something like streaming services or pretty much anything these days. It's getting tough out there. And tiered pricing and tiered pricing structures were actually pioneered originally by Netflix and Hulu, at least when it comes to the streaming services. And this happened very early on in the game, but lately that's begun to shift about and gain additional levels at both of those places and pretty much all the other streamers as well. You're getting more tiers. One of the latest talking points pivots towards an ad tier level of streaming, which makes sense. As Netflix and Disney have moved to this model, we've seen some shifts in consumption and in plans for pretty much everybody. And to be fair, they needed it. Nearly 57% of about 3,000 TV viewers that were surveyed recently suggested that they are considering a switch to ad-supported streaming as it becomes available, or as it, they decide or elect to change their plan with their current streaming service. And as consumers shift to ad tier plans, they'll actually come to realize actual value of the programming that they've been paying for. I suspect that a shift in that value threshold could actually lose more overall subscribers for many of these services, even after they switch to this ad tier plan, or maybe because of it. Maybe. There have also been some surveys indicating that people are tired of actively managing all of these various services. Believe me, just think about how many things you are subscribed to. You're managing so many digital services, you probably can't even keep account. You have streaming and social media and gaming and music and sports and podcasts and audiobooks, and of course, YouTube. It's really a lot to manage, maybe too much to manage, maybe too much to manage. And so we are actually positioned to enter another era or a new area of streaming, or a new era of streaming in non-traditional bundles. And this suggestion is something that was brought forward, and I agree with, from the folks over at Puck Media, specifically Julia Alexander, who put this as one of her unpredictable predictions for 2023, that we would start to see non-traditional bundles. So imagine getting even more benefits out of your Costco membership all of a sudden. You now get Disney Plus ad tier free, along with maybe Paramount Plus in addition to that free as well. Maybe that is a non-traditional bundle. Or maybe your gym membership now comes with a Netflix ad tier also for free. Be pretty cool, right? There are endless combinations of what could happen with these types of subscription services partnering together. And it may be the only way that they can draw people into supporting multiple ones of these streaming services. Right now, it's measured out that the average person that has been surveyed in many different ways, that many people are involved in about 12 different subscription services all at one time. And most of them, if not all of them, are digital. And all of this, of course, requires a more efficient and profitable streaming service, which is the whole point of these studios, to be honest with you, which means they are going to need a better average revenue per user, or ARPU. This, of course, means that you are going to have fewer programs. We talked about that yesterday. And we're going to need higher quality programs to boot. Something that is broad appeal, wider interest, not catering to an infinitesimal fraction that doesn't watch your stuff anyway, nor could they afford to. Oh, and also we're coming up, or we should be coming up on, again, these are lessons for these streaming services. We should be coming up on the end of the binge. That's right. Every service is slowly moving past the binge model. At least that's what it looks like, from my point of view, observing. Some of these services never entertained the idea of doing the binge model, and I think that was probably wise. I would say Disney, at least with Disney Plus, did a good job there. Binge models also contribute to something else that none of these services can deal with, and that's a massive problem with churn. See, it's easier for consumers to watch and binge a show and then cancel. They are taking advantage of the one show that actually interests them and brings other customers in to view on a trial membership, perhaps, or maybe a 1-month membership. And then you didn't keep that customer who cost you more to gain in your show production, et cetera, and you lose out on them and they're gone forever. And that's happening quite a bit with these binge models, that, you know, you put out a show, it's good for that one season, people subscribe, then they cancel, and you never earned back what it cost to get them in the first place. In fact, you lose money on those customers. You lose money on those trial memberships too through that binge model. So why would you do it? I guess ultimately, can streaming companies manage their churn, ARPU, their show quality, turning off the binge, their ad tiers, and non-traditional bundles? That's the biggest question. Oh, wait, actually the biggest question is this: can they become profitable? Because ultimately, as I said before, that's the most important thing. They're going to have to do all of those things in order to become profitable, or stay profitable in the case of Netflix. They do that. What do you think? Do you see that the streamers are actually taking away the right lessons from this last year or last couple of years, if you want to look at a bigger picture? And do you think that by learning those lessons that they're going to provide some effective solutions? Maybe. Do you see the non-traditional bundles as an option for success here? Quite possibly. And I think it's a great suggestion. And it's not the first time we've seen it in this form or fashion. And finally, is the ad tier more of a stopgap than it is an actual solution? I think it could be detrimental in some cases, at least for some customers, that, you know, will realize that the value threshold is not met for paying even a little bit of money and suffering under the weight of those ads. But hey, those are my opinions. For yours, leave them down below in the comments section. Hopefully we can have a discussion down there, or at least get one going so we can find out if any of this is really relevant at all anyway. I have a feeling that streaming services, for all their bluster and all their promise, may not necessarily be what they're cracked up to be, at least not for investors on Wall Street. Again, my opinion. What's yours? On that note, support other independent creators here on the platform. They absolutely deserve your support, and they need it in order to grow, because they're competing with, obviously, the big boys who, for whatever reason, get favorable treatment from this platform, despite the fact that we built these platforms through our videos, not the big guys. We YouTubed ourselves. They're business tubing. Completely different. Anyway, that's my opinion. So help out creators by subscribing to their channels, liking their videos, commenting when you can. If you have something to say, even if you don't have something to say hi. It really does help. It drives the algorithm, obviously. And of course, share the content that you enjoy out there, because believe it or not, that's one of the best ways for a channel to grow. And with that, I'll end the video the same way I always do, just a few days short of the new year. Be sure to take care of yourself. Take care of others. Wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye. And don't forget to check out my Rumble at rumble.com/CultureCasino.
Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.